Oh, welcome to the talk about addressing storm anxiety. This is not something that the National Weather Service has often acknowledged and is a new blooming field that we are wanting to reach out to the public and let them know that we acknowledge this is here and that we're humans too, and we get where you're coming from, especially whenever we have our own background with storm anxiety. So first, before we get into the nitty-gritty about storm anxiety, let's just introduce ourselves. So what is the National Weather Service? Well, in case you didn't know, we are nationwide. There are 122 weather offices across the entire United States, including Alaska, Hawaii, Guam, and Puerto Rico. And we have additional regional and national centers located all over the United States. Some that you would hear about are the Weather Prediction Center, who helps us with winter weather. And then there's the Storm Prediction Center, who provides us our severe information. Whenever we talk about outlooks and our different types of severe threats, such as tornado, hail, or wind, the SPC, Storm Prediction Center, really provides us those informations. And then there's others such as the Climate Prediction Center and the Space Weather Prediction Center and a multitude of others that help us provide you the best service we can. And the National Weather Service doesn't just employ meteorologists. We also employ computer and communication specialists, IT folks, electronics experts, physicists, and administrative assistants as well. So the best thing to know whenever you're looking at the National Weather Service is know where you live. So we're going to take a look here at Illinois. I know that some of you may be across the country. Apply this respectively to where you're from. So know what county you live in. Knowing what county you live in is a huge helper when it comes for any type of winter weather, warm season weather, dense fog. We have some major dense fog out there right now. Knowing what county you're in can help you identify on the map and whenever warnings come out if you are included or not. Knowing where you are in relation to other locations is important for severe weather. That way, when a tornado warning gets issued, you know if your county is within that tornado warning or not. So looking at this map of Illinois, there are 5 different weather forecasting offices, what we call WFOs, that focus on Illinois. You've got NWS Chicago, they're located in Romeoville. You've got NWS Quad Cities, they're located in Davenport. NWS St. Louis, they're in the St. Louis metro area. And then NWS Paducah, who is in Paducah, Kentucky. And then our office is NWS Lincoln, which our other title is NWS Central Illinois. And we are the only office in the state to focus solely on Illinois. All the other offices have a couple counties outside of the state of Illinois. So whenever you're looking, if you're in Paducah's area, I know they have a couple duplicate names like Jefferson County. You would want to make sure you know which Jefferson County you're in based on if you're in Kentucky, Illinois, Indiana. You just have to know those 2 things. And then that also helps you know which office you're getting your forecast from. So a little bit about the office that I work for. We are located in Lincoln, Illinois, which is in Logan County, which is in the center of the CWA. And what we call CWA is our county warning area. We have 35 counties that we focus on, and we have 22 employees in the office that help with this day-to-day task of providing the forecast. We have 16 meteorologists, 3 electronics technicians, 1 information technology officer, 1 hydrologist, and an admin assistant. One thing about the Weather Service is weather doesn't sleep. So the National Weather Service works 365, 24/7. We are open all the time, including holidays and overnight. That way we can make sure you're getting the most up-to-date forecast. We do 2 different forecast packages. We send one forecast out at 3 a.m. and another forecast package out around 3 p.m. My office, Central Illinois, we are one of 92 offices across the country that release a weather balloon twice daily, what we call 0Z and 12Z. That means those launches are for the times of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So this is the balloon. It gets quite large whenever it gets up high in the atmosphere. It gets as big as a school bus at times. And then the orange thing you see on the ground just below it, that is the parachute that allows the radio sonde, the little instrument's about this big, the little instrument that provides us all the data as the balloon rises. It gives us all sorts of things such as wind speed, wind direction, temperature, dew point, pressure, and it can travel large distances before it pops as well. So to give you a little bit of the human side for me, why this matters to me, why this topic is being brought up, is I was affected with storm anxiety growing up. I was born and raised in Southern Illinois. I went to college in South Carolina and in Central Illinois. So I have experienced a wide variety of weather, all the way from hurricanes to winter storms. So I've got a bit of experience when it comes to different types of weather. But from a really young age, I was terrified of all forms of weather, whether that meant just a breeze in the trees or raindrops falling on the ground, all the way to the biggest storm you could think of. I was unconsolable at sometimes, at points. And when I was 10 years old, I discovered the Weather Channel while I was on vacation. And ever since I discovered the Weather Channel, that piqued my interest in weather. And I coped with my fear by learning more about what I was scared of by watching shows, reading books on weather, listening to stories, reading weather articles. Whenever there were severe storms in the area, I would watch the radar on television and try to explain to my mother what I was seeing at that time. And now to this day, I still do that, but a little less because I'm afraid, but more because it's my passion in life now. So after I learned how to cope whenever I was in my early teens, I decided that the Weather Service was where I wanted to go so I could help other people like me learn and grow out of this fear and understand that weather is beautiful and it's not something to be scared of. However, I do have a little secret. Just because I've been working on this fear for almost over a decade now, I still have a little bit inside of me. If I don't have my radar app available for me, I get a little nervous. But at this point now, I think it's a little bit more butterflies of excitement than butterflies of nervousness, but it's still there and it takes time to grow out of the fear. We would like to add a little disclosure that we are not medical professionals. So to get help with your specific fear, please reach out to your doctor or your therapist or counselor. There's no shame in asking for help. All we can do is provide you the tools that the National Weather Service provides for you, the public. So what is storm anxiety? Let's get into the nitty-gritty part of this webinar. So storm anxiety is whenever you are obsessively thinking about the potential for storms. Some other signs of it would be distress if you know that a thunderstorm is forecasted. If, say we 3 days out say that there is a level 2 out of 5 risk for severe weather and you start to get nervous and then you want to change all your plans, you want to make sure you're in your safe spot that day, that would be a good indicator of storm anxiety. However, if you see a level 2 out of 4 or level 2 out of 5, that isn't so much for alarm. Just keep an eye out on your local forecast in order to know what to expect out of that day. Some other signs would be extreme fear or dread during the weather events. if you're hyperventilating or finding yourself having physical reactions to the weather, that is another example of having storm anxiety. And I had all of these growing up. This is very common for children and for those who have experienced traumatic or major weather events. Some examples would be last year for the derecho that moved through. As we were going around to schools, just doing our normal outreach that we do, we heard from several students that they were at school when that derecho hit, and we even had some kids come to the office because they were afraid of clouds ever since the derecho, and them visiting was giving them the tools they needed to understand that clouds aren't bad. The derecho was a special extreme event, and that they were going to be okay. And then there are 6 types of weather phobias, and they're fun names. I've been practicing them, so we'll see if I've got this down. So the fear of thunder and lightning is astrophobia. That is what I had growing up. That's what I would categorize it. This is, you don't get diagnosed with this so much as it's kind of, you make it feel like it fits you. And it's not a one size fits all. Sometimes it's a little bit of all of them. So you've got encrophobia, which is the fear of wind. Chianophobia is fear of snow. My favorite word out of all of these is lilapsophobia, which is the fear of severe weather. Nephophobia, fear of clouds, and ombrophobia, the fear of rain. And these 6 types of weather phobias were collected from the Cleveland Clinic, and they give a more descriptive explanation of what each one is. And here's a visual. So in the top left, you have the fear of thunder and lightning. And then in the top right, you have the fear of wind. I used wind turbines because you can't really see the wind. You can feel it, but you can't see it. And then nephophobia, the fear of clouds. Lilapsophobia, the fear of severe weather. And ombrophobia, the fear of rain. And the last one is chianophobia, fear of snow, which we've had plenty of in the last couple of weeks. So some causes of the weather fears that I discussed just a minute ago, according to the Cleveland Clinic, experts aren't really for sure what causes these fears to develop. They have some suggestions like traumatic event when young, or likely to develop a fear if your parent or sibling or really close family member also have it. And then sometimes they develop for no apparent reason, which was my case. We don't really know what caused it. It just kind of happened, but it's okay because it's easy to get over if you work really, really hard. I say easy. It takes time, but you have to put the effort in. So let's give you some coping mechanisms to start giving yourself power over fear. This is the biggest part of our presentation. It's the most important part, I should say. We gave you the background of who we are, just so you would understand who you're getting your forecasts from. And then we gave the background of what storm anxiety is, so you could understand, is this me or is this someone I know? And now it's time for the coping mechanisms. This is the biggest part because it's the most important thing, is to take power over your fear. So first, have a plan. Know where your safe space is. Have 3 ways to get your warnings. Emergency kit supplies, which you can find at ready.gov. They have an entire list, and they also give lists for your vehicles as well. And then practice your plan. Make sure you have everything you need to enact your plan in the moment that you need to enact that plan. Learn about your local warning systems. Do you have outdoor sirens? Do you get a text message whenever there's a warning or a watch issued? Do you have a weather radio? Is that how you receive your warnings? Or do you have cable and you can receive your warnings from your local news channel? That you need to know how to get your warnings and always have multiple ways to receive those warnings. Learn about the weather and its terms. Like, what is a watch, what is a warning, and what is an advisory? And an advisory is going away, at least for my office. I think it's going to go away for a couple other offices as well. So we will be using what's called plain language instead, where instead of saying a dense fog advisory, we would just say dense fog and then what we expect out of the dense fog, like a quarter-mile visibility. We can also teach you about the weather and its terms by attending one of our spotter classes or doing online courses. There are free courses that we will provide at the end of this slideshow as well. And finally, visit your local National Weather Service office. It sounds like it'll be boring, and if weather's not your thing, then it might be, but it will help you understand that the people providing your forecast and issuing your warnings are humans like you, and that we really care about our communities that we are forecasting for. These 4 coping mechanisms are just the tip of the iceberg. We pulled these off of our website, the Storm Anxiety and Stress website on Central Illinois' weather.gov page, which we will provide another look at this web page in just a second. So I went around and asked my fellow coworkers what kind of things they do before bad weather arrives. What do they do when they hear bad weather is threatening the location that they're in? So here are a few tricks from us here at NWS Central Illinois. The first thing is put on durable shoes, boots, tennis shoes, just something that if you needed to get out into wreckage, your feet would be safe. That way, if you need to take shelter, you're not scrambling to try to find your shoes. You already have them on your feet. So when the warning is issued, all you have to do is take off to the shelter. Have your devices charged in case power goes out. That way you can still communicate with your family, have weather awareness. Phones nowadays have flashlights, so you can have a flashlight. And if just the storms are making you uncomfortable and you're just getting a little anxious, it's okay to hang out in your safe spot. That is perfectly okay. If a warning hasn't been issued for your location, but you're feeling uncomfortable, go ahead and go into that hallway or go into your basement and just hang out there. Bring your phone, play a game, watch the local news on your phone or on a television if you have a television in your safe spot, and just chill. And then turn on your local news channel. The Weather Channel is a good source for large scale understanding what's going on everywhere, but your local news channel is going to focus on the specific storms that are in your area, and they will have a better grasp of your geography as well. If affordable, invest in a generator for when the power goes out. That way, when the power goes out, you're not panicking that, oh no, what am I going to do? The generator will back you up. It'll keep your food good, and it'll allow you to charge your phone if your phone dies after the event. And finally, knowledge is power. The more you know about something, the less you will be afraid of it, because you will understand that this isn't so bad. This isn't as scary as I thought it was going to be. But sometimes it takes more than knowing how to cope. Don't be afraid to reach out from friends, family, or a professional for some help. It does take time to overcome your fears. The biggest thing is to know that every little step you take towards recovering from the fear adds up to being big changes. It took me about 10 years to get to where I don't get nervous at the sight of a dark cloud. So find what helps you. It's not a cover-all. Not one person's not going to be the same as this next. So figure out what works for you and grow from there. So I mentioned our webpage, the Storm Anxiety and Stress page. You can visit this website to receive more suggestions and tips on how to prepare for storms. It is found at the bottom of our webpage in the footer section. It's where the block is, the blue box. If you click on that link, it'll take you to this webpage, which provides advice for meteorologists on dealing with storm anxiety. And this isn't a website we developed. It's actually the National Weather Service office in Norman, Oklahoma developed this, and we've adapted it for our area. There are a couple other offices that do have this available on their website. So if you're not in the central Illinois area, you can also find this on Paducah's page, Paducah, Kentucky, Kansas City, Missouri, Norman, Oklahoma. So those are other options. They all have the same information for the most part, except a couple things are tweaked to fit that general area and what they see in that area. This will answer questions and concerns you may have after the webinar is over. And we are going to post this presentation to this webpage either later this week or sometime next week as we get everything finalized. So we gave you the coping mix. Now let's get you some preparedness information. So some preparedness information is winter storms. We've had plenty of those in the last month. So what you can do to prepare for this is to have your emergency supplies ready for your car and your home. Make sure that your heating sources and your car are fueled and ready to go. And then the day before, make sure you adjust your plans to how the weather is working for that day. Have multiple ways to receive your warnings and bring your pets indoors. If you need to make sure they have enough water because cold can cause dehydration in animals. During and after the event, check on your neighbors, your family, the elderly. Make sure your generators are distanced from the house and make sure you take it easy while shoveling. They could cause some health complications if you're not careful. This is just another graphic of how to prepare for winter storms. It provides some terminology on there, such as what is the difference between a watch and a warning, and then what is a blizzard warning and an ice storm warning. But make sure you have your plan and that you're communicating this plan. So let's jump into the warm season. The stages for preparing for severe weather goes for us and for you, goes outlooks, watches, warnings. So the outlook is whenever they say there is a moderate risk for severe weather or a high risk for severe weather. It's on a 5-level scale. And this identifies where the greatest risk for severe weather is, and it breaks down into tornado, wind, and hail. It's for planning purposes. And then watches. Watches are like you have all of the ingredients for tacos. Everyone's heard this metaphor before. At least I think so. It's all over the place. So tacos, you have everything to make your taco, but you're not making your taco yet. You just have it. You can continue your normal activity, but keep an eye out for changes in the weather and make sure you have the ways to get your warnings. And then finally, tacos are made. You're about to eat your tacos. That is a warning. Whenever you receive a warning, that is no longer the time to prep. That is the time to act. That is when you need to be in your shelter. That is whenever you need to be communicating with your family that they need to be executing your plan. So think of it, watches, you're ready to make the tacos. And then warnings, you're eating your tacos. It's important to have multiple ways to receive your severe weather, whether that's any of these options here, and you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter to receive those as well. When the wind is blowing, make sure you're out of high rises, you're away from trees, anything that can fly outside. Stay away from high profile vehicles such as semis, as the wind can make them sway or tip them over, and be inside. When it comes to tornadoes, know where to go. The best places is an interior room with no windows, a bathroom, a hallway, a closet, but the best place to be is a basement if you have a basement. Now, if you live in a mobile home, the best option for you is to just leave the mobile home. You'll want to go to your nearest gas station or restaurant or a friend's house or family's house that has a basement or a bathroom. Mobile homes are one of the least safest places to be during a tornado warning or even a high wind, severe thunderstorm. When you're on the road with a tornado, the myth is to go under an underpass. Don't go under the underpass. It's not safe. It's actually one of the most dangerous places you can be, as the underpass acts like a wind tunnel. Best place to be is to get off the road and go into a designated shelter or stay at home. If you're spending time outdoors, make sure you're getting your forecast updated and you know where the nearest shelter is located. When it's time to take action, don't wait. So I know that was a bit of a whirlwind of preparation, but if you want to learn more about at least the severe weather aspect, you can attend one of our spotter talks this spring. You can find our local talks on our website. This calendar is up to date as of like 3 hours ago. So find which one is in your local area and help us help you by being trained as a spotter and providing us reports with what you see. These classes are free. There is a virtual spotter talk in April, on April 13th, where you can join from anywhere in the Central Illinois area and get trained to be a spotter. To watch a recording of the spotter talks, there is a link under Spotter Resources tab on the ILX/spotter page that you see here. Then other options are Comet, Met Ed online courses. They are free. All you need is a login and a password, and it helps you understand the basics of weather. And they have so many different classes. I've actually taken a couple of the courses. You do get a certificate at the end. We don't do anything with those certificates. Those are for you. They don't really give you anything. It's just the acknowledgement that you completed the course. You can also visit weather.gov/education/weather to see the different preparation advice and how to prepare different aspects of your life. If you have a family member that is deaf and hard of hearing, there are resources for them. So just take a look at this. There's weather safety materials for individuals with intellectual disabilities. There's stuff for kids and stuff for schools. So thank you for coming and watching the storm anxiety awareness presentation today. And now we're going to go into our Q&A portion. So go ahead and throw in your questions. I have another one of my coworkers on here, John Bumgardner. He's going to be helping answer questions as well. And we're going to be checking the question queue. We are always, Mindy, we are always in need for spotters. We never have enough, especially in, I'm going to pull up our county map here. Don't look at the screen if you get dizzy. I'm backing it up. So in our southeastern counties like Effingham, Jasper, Crawford, and Down, we always need more because it's a very rural area out there. And usually all we get is what we have on the radar. So we always need spotters. Wow, John, you're answering all of these. Okay. How do you report? So if you attend the spotter talk, it will go in more depth with how to report. We have someone watching social media and we have someone answering the phones at all times. I don't know about the amount of spotters in one specific area. We used to keep a database, but recently, about 5-10 years ago, we stopped keeping that database. What is the best radar app to use? So yeah, that is a little tricky. So I have a favorite, but I'm going to give you all of the options so you can get your local television stations weather. Oh no, come back on. Sorry, the room thought I was not in here anymore. So there's your local TV stations weather radar. Then there's a couple that do cost money, like Radar Scope. There's so many options. If you're a computer user, you can use our radar that is on our website. So just click around and see which one fits your needs the best. I live in a, okay. Elena, my building doesn't have a sump pump. What can I do for weather preparedness during a flash flood warning? That's a good question. The best option is to have a sump pump, and have a drain in your basement. If you don't have a sump pump, to have a drain. It's kind of hard to prep basement outside of those two things for any flash flooding. That's something I would bring up to your landlord or whoever owns the apartment. What was, okay, he answered, never mind. I was about to answer that question. How do you know if there is a tornado in a line of storms on a radar? So that's tricky. It's something that we train on every year. And it's another thing that will be covered in our spotter talks. So for the weather nerds out there, weather weenies, where there is a what we call velocity couplet, where the reds and greens meet in turn, just the little kinks in the line of a line of storms. So it's a little tricky, and they spin up and spin down so quick on a line of storms that sometimes they're gone before we even see them on the radar. Well, Abby, I'm glad that this has been able to be helpful for you and that your therapist recommended this webinar for you. That's good news, and I hope that this is some coping mechanisms you can take and use and they are helpful for you. I know personally, having the shoes on and ready to go and my phone being on the charger really helped me. So the best places to take shelter in a house, apartment, etc. So we're gonna jump back through here again. Couple more, there we go. So this infographic could help you, Erin, knowing where to go. Don't go to the top floor, don't go to an exterior room, don't be in a room with windows, and especially outside. Outside is not the safest or smartest place to be during any severe weather, whether that's wind, hail, or tornadoes. So make sure you're in an interior room. If you're in a second floor or third floor apartment, I would make friends with your downstairs neighbors. That's what I've had to do. Make friends with your downstairs neighbors, so if there's ever severe weather, you can go down there. Also know if that's not an option for you, know where your closest restaurant is or gas station. You could also, if you're not on the top floor, but you're still elevated, you could take shelter in your bathroom if it was not an exterior wall. Hope that answers your question. Yeah, so weather radio is very useful, Mark. It definitely wakes you up if there's any type of warning issued while you're sleeping. It's a good alarm clock, definitely. Yes, if there is not so I'm answering Patricia's question, is it still recommended to get into a ditch if you are traveling? If there is not a gas station or a home nearby that you can take shelter in, and the storm is bearing down on you, like the tornado is right there and you can't just drive and get away from it, get in the ditch, lay flat. It's the best last resort effort to take shelter. Uh, but if you have time to turn around and go the opposite direction of the tornado, book it out of there. But if the tornado is right there and you can't get away, yeah, go into the ditch. So, Mary, your question about your dog being severely afraid of rain and anxiety, uh, give them treats, give them love, let them know that it's all going to be okay. There are devices out there. I'm not quite sure what the names are, but they're like muffling thingies. They're like hats that go over their ears. It's supposed to reduce like echoes and sounds. I've heard some good things about that. Uh, I have several doggies of my own. I just give them lots of love and tell them that they're gonna be okay. How do employees of weather stations take cover where there are tornadoes during TV coverage? So usually if the tornado is not bearing down on their building, they will stay on live. Same thing here for the National Weather Service. Even if there's a tornado warning out for our county, but we're not in the line of fire or within the tornado warning itself, we will not take shelter. We will continue operations until we have to take shelter, like down to the last minute, because our neighboring offices would also have to take over our operations, and sometimes they're dealing with severe weather too, and we have to give them time. How can you visit us? Do we give tours and more info like these presentations? Stephen, I'm glad you're enjoying this. So you can visit us. You can reach out to us via this this email right here. And within this email, not the Rebecca one, I put the, hey, John, could you throw in the NWS Lincoln email, please? So the ILX spotter at NOAA.gov email is going away soon, and he is going to chat the NWS Lincoln email. That is the email you'll want to reach out to. You can also reach out to me as well directly, and I can send you to the right person. We do tours. We do give more information. We have some handouts, and you get to see the entire facility. So don't be afraid to reach out. We will give you a tour. And if you have a student in high school or in college that is interested in weather, that's what they're going to go to school for, they can come and job shadow us as well, and you can email us and we'll get that set up. We do not have a basement. Actually, our shelter is our break room. Our break room is made up of really thick concrete and a strong door. And it's like a bunker above ground. It's very durable. Are there any additional questions coming in? Shauna, I'm glad that you guys enjoyed this presentation and that hopefully it helps you guys in the long run. So the question about climate change moving closer to Tornado Alley, moving us closer to Tornado Alley, it's still, climate change is still a moving organism. Nothing is really certain. We do know that intensity is going up-ish, kind of, but to say if it's moving Tornado Alley towards us, I can't really speak on that. That's not my area of expertise, but good question. Don't worry, Brandon, these slides are going to be put on the website, so you can look them over, and if you have any additional questions, you can reach out to us. Mindy, I'm going to let John answer your question there about the winds and damages to home. Oh, there it is. He answered. Good job, John. Ooh. Any lingering questions out there? Sophie, I'm glad learning about weather has helped you. I was terrified of storms and it led me to this career. So sometimes you don't know how life's going to work out. Mindy, yes, severe weather is any chance. It's just hail, wind, tornado in any form or strength that is considered severe weather. You can also consider hurricanes and tropical cyclones as a form of severe weather. All right, well, the questions are slowly coming in now. I'm going to stay on here for a couple more minutes. So if you have more questions, go ahead and send them in. Christina, yes, I will. Give me just one moment and I will answer that. Thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. I will stay on for a couple more minutes to answer more questions. So enjoy your evening. So the reason why we're removing advisory terminology when announcing enhanced weather, the reason why we're getting rid of it is because after some surveys and some research has been done, not here, but across the country, the trend has been noticed that that the public, whenever we say advisory, it could mean so many different things to them. And having a term that has too many definitions is not good for us. It'll cause confusion. So we're changing it over to plain language in order to make it very understandable of what we're trying to say. So instead of a wind advisory, it'll say wind, and then following the word wind, it'll say winds of 35 to 45 miles per hour are expected in this area during this time, instead of wind advisory. What does wind advisory even mean? So It's just a bit of a clarification to reduce confusion between us and the public. So right now we are in the middle of an El Nino. So that's where we're at right now, is we're in El Nino. Warmer weather, drier weather. Doesn't seem like that right now because it's been kind of wet and cold, but the overall trend for the season is that's what it's supposed to expect. So it's not going to change anything for aviation. That's completely separate. This is specifically for weather advisories, except for those with marine areas, like in Chicago's region where they have the Great Lake. Small craft advisories are still going to exist. So whenever it comes to a specialized area, those advisories, that term is still going to be around. This is specifically for wind, fog, winter weather, that kind of thing. Actually, El Nino usually, if I'm remembering correctly, and John will message me if I'm wrong, but El Nino actually suppresses tornadic weather. There's usually less tornadoes during an El Nino. So I can't speak towards aviation weather. We do terminal forecasts for different airports. However, what we call CWSUs, they are the aviation areas. And then there's the Aviation Weather Center. They do their own thing. They issue all of those. They'll be separate from what the weather forecast offices do. Anything the Aviation Weather Center does, I cannot speak to. I've not experienced their office. Sorry if that caused any confusion, Stephen. Good night. All right. Any other questions? The wind speed predicted is a ground level wind speed. If we were to predict the wind speeds up above, it would be crazy high. The winds up there can get in excess of 100 miles an hour at times, and we don't want those winds here. So we forecast for the ground level winds. Enjoy your evening, Brandon. Thank you for coming in. So the weather sirens of your town, that is based on your local police and emergency management teams. Whenever they get the warnings or get word of the warnings, that's when they'll sound off the sirens. It's a localized decision. How old do you have to be to job shadow? I first job shadowed when I was 16. So high school age and up would be the age I would say. But anyone can come in for a tour. Thank you for the clarification, John, to Mindy's question. Christina, that would be a good question to email us about. That I can forward to our observation and co-op who talks with those who gives us observations, our focal point for that, and he would be able to give you a lot more detail than I could about that. Yeah, you can schedule a tour around the balloon time and request that you see the balloon launch. We do let people watch it. Or you can just come and park across the road and watch it. We release at 5 o'clock and 5 o'clock a.m. and p.m. We said the launch times are 6. We said 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. That's what time the data is supposed to come in. But we actually let go of the balloon at 5 a.m. and 5 p.m. right now. But after Spring Forward in March, we will be releasing them at 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. All right, we're coming up on 7 o'clock, so get those last couple of questions in before we go ahead and end this presentation. So Kyler, about your question about El Nino or La Nina, John did say that I was correct there. It does, El Nino winter precedes a less active severe weather spring and summer. However, that's in general and not always. Weather is finicky and will always do what it wants to do. All right, I'm gonna call it here. Thank you so much again for sticking around for the question and answer portion of our presentation. Don't be afraid to reach out to us if you have any additional questions, and keep an eye out for our website. This presentation will be uploaded at some point in the next week or so. So stay safe and enjoy your evening.